and Korean women are culturally different. They are biologically all women. So if you have the system that works, it would work. But you have to use different language. You have to use different comedy. You have to use different routines. Things that would be funny in English would not be funny in Korean.
What could you give us an example of that? Because I think that's fascinating. Because when I first came to Korea, I had done a boot camp with Juggler, and I was using he was a also natural method, I guess, more natural conversationalist more than pickup, so to speak. So when I came to Korea and I started applying a lot of the witty jokes that we learned in his boot camp, and a lot of the openers, like like coming up and shaking their hand. I noticed they were backfiring on me, and it left me I was quite frustrated at first, because here I was like, whoa, it's not working, So I'm wondering if it was the...
Well, I can imagine that, because as a foreigner, if a Korean woman gets approached by a foreigner, then she would automatically get intimidated.
Really? How come you think that she would get intimidated? Is it because we're...
Because, nowadays there are many expats in Korea, but even like 3 years ago there weren't many.
Right, and we're just talking Seoul. Like, we're not even talking, like, I guess, like Daejeon or the other cities in Korea. Yeah, we're just talking Seoul.
I remember before I went to England, in Korea, like in 1998, if you see a foreigner in the street, everyone would stare at him.
Really? And everyone. That just by himself?
Foreigner, yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because Korean society itself is very, very closed society. It's very family-based.
Right.
And they value traditions, bloodlines. So they take pride in... It's a fantasy, really. It's a fantasy, but they believe in this fantasy of Koreans being pure blood.
Right.
They don't think they are mixed with any other races. So
it's funny you mention it, because I was reading an article the other day that said that 15% of the marriages in Korea today are interracial.
Which is very surprising, actually.
Really?
Things are changing really fast.
Right. And do you think that that this change is causing, is making it, how do you think it's affecting the foreigners who come to Korea, or overseas who meet Korean women? Like, how do you think it's affecting how the interactions or the dating? Like, is it okay for a Korean woman to date a foreigner?
I think it's getting easier for you guys.
It can't get any harder for that.
Yeah, people are getting less conservative, I guess. Well,
really?
As I said, there are more foreigners these days. Nowadays, you can just see them everywhere.
Right. And that's kind of new, right?
Yeah.
For Korea.
Yeah, it's been very recent. And we lack women in Korea.
Right.
They don't get married. They don't get children.
Right.
So, Korean men, they have to look for brides outside Korea. So.
Right, and also, like, I imagine these days also a lot of women don't want to get married, right? They don't
exactly.
Really want...
They want to get career. Whereas before, women's role in a family was very narrow. They were housewives. Like even 10 years ago, you could hardly ever see a woman working. Should be
really.
Yeah, should be either studying or she's married.
Right.
That's it.
And studying really just to meet.
Yeah, just to meet a
better
husband, basically. But
wow.
Nowadays, if you don't get a job as a woman, then your value really drops.
Really?
Yeah.
And that change happened in what, 5-10 years?
Yeah, 10 years maybe.
Wow. So here you have children, 10 years ago, like teenagers, who were taught, if you're a woman, you're expect to become a housewife.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't cling on to a job. And then they're in their 20s, and they're out in the real world, and then all of a sudden they're expected to get a job, and I guess they just have a hard time coping with the transformation, the changes.
It was really hard 10 years ago, because there were lots of clashes between generations.
Right.
Especially like Korea. Korea advanced really fast between the 70s and 80s. They achieved like economical developments other countries achieved in 100 years. They achieved only in 10 years.
That's very true.
Economically, they advanced this far, but culturally, they can't cope with that.
Interesting.
The 100 years gap, it's 3 or 4 generations. It's not very easy to catch up. So they are now, 10 years ago, Korea was like ancient Korea, and nowadays like it's more like Western.
Right.
So these younger generations these days they know what other people live like outside Korea, like in Europe, America. They know their lifestyle and they admire that.
Right.
And but their parents, they didn't know about anything outside Korea, basically.
Right. Because you're still in a. I mean, culturally, the family is still very important in Korea.
Yeah, it is still.
And here you have parents who grew up in a completely different world.